Welcome to RFD TV Live, an informative and interactive hour featuring topics and products of interest to rural America, with expert guests on hand to answer your questions or discuss your feedback. And now, RFD TV Live.
Good evening and welcome to RFD TV Live. I'm News Director Mark Oppold. Tonight it's the second edition of the VitaFerm Angus Hour. If you're in the cattle business, you know very well during the next couple of months, most of the calves produced in this country, millions and millions, literally, will be weaned, sold, and shipped out. Some of those calves are going to have trouble with their health and performance once they do leave the ranch. Others, they're weaned right away. They handle the stress of weaning. They handle the transportation, their new environment without very many setbacks in performance or in their health. So what's the difference? Well, we're here to find out and help you with some answers about those questions. Tonight, officials from the American Angus Association's Certified Angus Beef Program and VitaFerm have teamed up once again to join us here on RFD TV to help cattlemen improve their pre-weaning and that weaning management. Our plan is to open up our telephone lines to you in just a few minutes. In fact, let's give you that telephone number right now. The lines are open. It's a toll-free number, 877-731-6733. 877-731-6733. You are a very important part of our program. Your questions help a lot of viewers around the country that may have a similar question. In fact, let's meet the members of the panel who are going to be answering those questions. We hope to keep them busy. It's all up to you now to get those telephone lines lit up and ask those great questions here for our calving season the next 30, 60 to 90 days. We welcome back Dr. Larry Cora, Vice President for Certified Angus Beef, their supply development. Dr. Howard Jensen, Technical Director and Nutritionist for VitaFerm. And the third member of our panel, Mark McCulley, Assistant Vice President for Supply Development, also with Certified Angus Beef. Gentlemen, welcome to RFD TV.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
In fact, I should say welcome back. You were all here for our show earlier this year. And in fact, we want to kind of pick up on that, Larry. We had a chance to visit with you then. But for people who are maybe watching for the first time and learning about VitaFerm, Howard, and the Certified Angus Beef Program. First of all, tell us about your background and what you do with Certified Angus Beef.
Well, we're looking forward to the next hour and being part of the program. My role with Certified Angus Beef is I spent the past 12 years really working on oversight for the supply part of the program, make sure that we have product to be able to take what we think is an outstanding product to the consuming public. Prior to that, I spent 25 years with Kansas State University working in the area of cow-calf nutrition, both extension and research, really looking at ways that we can make that cow herd more productive, profitable, but also that we can handle those calves throughout the food chain. And so that's a background, and looking forward to participating.
And now someone might watching saying, well, now they're going to be talking about weaning and weaning management. Someone that's in a Certified Angus Beef brand program like that, how does that fit into tonight's show? Well, we have a great answer to that, and we're glad you're here.
Well, and that is a very logical question, Mark, in the sense that what the heck is a branded beef company doing as part of a program where you're talking about weaning strategy and nutrition, health, and those type of things. Actually, it plays a tremendously important role. As we looked at the growth of the Certified Angus Beef Program in the 1990s, much of that growth was accomplished as we grew from 200 to 300 million pounds and on up to 500 million pounds, was accomplished by adding packers along the way. All of a sudden, the program recognized in the late 90s that we were going to have to manage cattle differently to get them to qualify. And so we always thought genetics was a key component. But one of the things that we learned, Mark, is that there was a lot more. And I remember some of the scientists at the University of Illinois saying, hey, some of these management, nutrition, health factors may be almost twice as important in genetics. And early on, we didn't want to accept that. But as we got burrowed into the data, learned more about it, we realized there's a lot more to managing cattle to hit a quality target than just genetics alone, even though genetics is very important.
Well, and you're going right into the wheelhouse here of our next guest, and Dr. Howard Jensen. It's great to have you back again. And you're a nutritionist with VitaFerm. And again, we have a lot to share from our earlier program. But before we do that, your background. You're a veterinarian.
That's correct.
First, yes. Before getting involved with the VitaFerm.
I am. Thank you again. You know, it's good to be here tonight and good to be here with these guests and talk about, you know, how can we can make more money from these cattle, how we can get better value out of those. But
Sure.
I am a veterinarian, raised cattle myself, and I was telling you earlier, says this is a very timely topic for me as I was setting up panels last night, getting ready to wean my own calves here in the next week. Okay, so some of the things we're going to talk about, I was doing yesterday. But I then also went back to school, got a master's in nutrition. I worked for VitaFerm for about 15 years, and where my real personal interest comes in is how nutrition impacts health, and then reverse, how does health then impact the things that we do nutritionally, and how does that affect our end product?
Larry set that up and talking about, genetics we thought was the important thing, but boy, that nutrition, let's kind of start here. Maybe you work with farmers and ranchers all around the country on a regular basis. Kind of start at maybe setting the stage here, and what's happening with that calf in the nutritionally when they're being weaned, as far as the nutrition of that calf at that time.
Yeah, and one of the things I really like about my job is, again, being able to travel around the country, and it's interesting as I go around the country, different people have a different type of feedstuffs and things, and maybe we manage them just a little bit differently. But kind of one thing is, I was driving out in the pasture last night, I'm looking around, and I was telling my son, says, you know what, we probably need to get these calves weaned. Grass is starting to get a little bit more mature, and the nutrition just isn't quite
Sure.
in that grass. But at the same time, we're expecting to wean that calf. We're going to give it vaccinations. We're wanting that calf to respond to those vaccinations. We're expecting it to respond to those vaccinations when a period of time we're actually weaning him when he's just a little bit short of energy, maybe a little bit short of protein. And of course, the area that I mainly work in, and that's minerals. I think they're probably one of the most overlooked thing, even though they're the basis of almost everything nutritionally, enzyme system, the immune system, the mineral part is really, really overlooked. And so a lot of times we get busy in late summer and early fall, whether it's farming or the kids going back to school,
Sure.
and we just don't, we maybe fall a little bit behind on what that calf is actually taking in. But then we're still expecting him to not get sick in the feedlot and go through this whole period of time, and it's quite a stress to him.
And so bottom line, again, what you're saying is that it's a critical time here, these next 30, 60, 90 days, this weaning season, that we keep the calves eating and keep them gaining weight.
Well, it is, and one of the things that to me is probably one of the most overlooked things, and come to these things over the last few years, and that's what's happening inside the animal. We can pick up the best quality, brochures and the things from the university, and they talk about weaning practices, and we're going to talk a little bit about those and low stress weaning, but that's all outward. And we see that calf balling, but what's going on inside that calf?
Right.
What's going on in that room? And if we think about, if I'm going to wean my calves next Sunday, and on Saturday, those calves are eating grass and milk, maybe a little bit of creep feed. Come Sunday and Monday, I'm going to change their diet. And when their diet changes to, I'm going to probably bring a little bit of corn in, I'm going to bring the protein product in there, get a little bit of hay, adjust them to different water. Their rumen microbe makeup of what they need to digest that diet just change pretty abruptly. Mm-hmm. There's data that shows us that when we deprive a calf of feed and water, or what we would call substrate to that rumen, that those rumen microbes were slowed down and will not regain that and be actively as functioning, maybe even for days to even weeks afterwards. Say, well, I'm not going to deprive him of feed and water because I'm going to wean him right at home. Well, I am, because I'm probably going to haul him when he might have been out there grazing. I'm going to introduce him into water that he wasn't used to. And so that rumen is not going to have the same things that it had yesterday. So adapting that rumen really and getting it functioning is the key to getting that calf through weaning. Even though we talk about vaccinations and everything else, if that rumen's not functioning, we're not going to be successful at this. Wow. One of the things that I talk about, normally when we talk about preconditioning within the industry, we're talking about what? Vaccination programs, bunk training, things like that. I expand that definition in just a little bit and say, to me, we need to nutritionally precondition those calves right along with that.
Wow, great information, viewers. We're just getting started, and we have a lot more to share with you, and so you have a flavor of what's in store for us during this next hour. And Mark McCulley, I want to get you involved here as well and introduce you to our audience. You were here earlier this year, also with Certified Angus Beef, and your background, you've been around the country. You've seen a lot of this country.
A little bit. And again, Mark, it's great to be here.
Good to have you here.
It's a fun program, an exciting topic, and certainly one that's very, very relevant to our industry right now. My background, by way of, born and raised in Illinois in a small family operation there, registered cattle and some grain farming, and went on and did a graduate program later on in up at Michigan State in ruminant nutrition and feedlot management, and then had the great chance of working for a livestock marketing cooperative for a few years and working with producers and a beef improvement program that was operated there. And then here, as of in the last 10 or so years, worked for the Certified Angus Beef program. Had a great opportunity to work both on our packing side, our sales and marketing side, and on our production side now in supply development. So I say I've got the perfect job. On any given day I get to work with a chef or a cattle producer, and it's fun to see the whole system.
Absolutely.